clearly the process of voting this year is going to be a lot different. I mean, it'll still be possible on election day to go to the polls and cast your vote in person on what's traditionally been the day that people vote. But more and more people are voting early because they want to avoid what they fear will be a crowd on election day. And beyond that, voting by mail. And the amount of mailed in ballots is going to be so wildly disproportionate to what all these local election commissions have ever had to deal with. And, can they process, can they open, verify, count, tabulate the dramatically increased volume of votes that are going to come in through the mail? And so it's a serious question. When will we know who won this election, right? When will we know? And I say election, there are also all the elections going on for other offices. When will we know? If the election is very, very close, this process may drag on for more than a day or two. It may drag on for more than a week. And with all the uncertainty, because we're so used to knowing, like morning after the election, who won. And that may not be available to us. And you've got a president who's repeatedly said, I'm not sure I'm going to accept the results of the election. And if there's uncertainty, then that makes it easier for him to attempt to discredit the results of an election in which he loses. So this is going to be, election day is usually the end of the road. I hope that's the case this year. I hope it's a clear enough verdict so that it's obvious who won. But in all likelihood, this is not going to be the end of the road. This is going to be a fork in the road, and where the rest of it leads us could be very treacherous.
I think you were going to have a larger than usual turnout anyway, given the emotions surrounding the incumbent president, both positive and critical. You begin to see that in 2018 with an unusually large turnout. You saw it in some of the primaries around the country this year with people lined up around the block in March weather to cast a primary vote. So I think, there was a lot of interest in this election, and it was going to be a high turnout anyway. You throw COVID in and some fears about that, and some of the discussion in the media and by some of the parties about, are all the votes going to count, and so on. And it really does become an unusual election. If states like Colorado are swamped and Oregon that do this every single election, can only imagine the states that generally don't get a lot of mail-in ballots, how they're going to struggle. And then you've got lawsuits, for example, asking that no vote be counted before the election day and things like that. To the extent that any of those are successful, that could really throw a wrinkle into things. And then you've got beyond that, challenges as to when votes can come in and still be counted. Pennsylvania, last I knew, is going to allow votes to arrive as late as Friday, as long as they are postmarked by election day. Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, set the 17th of November. How can you know for sure how many ballots are in the mail? It could be a couple weeks. If in fact it's extremely close and turns on a state like Michigan, hope we don't have another 2000, right? Another fiasco like we did in the year 2000. Incredible debate about what ballot counts, what doesn't, who's looking over whose shoulder, do the judges get involved? And it just hurts the legitimacy of the electoral process. It hurts the legitimacy of the courts to have to get in the middle of it. And I really hope, like Mike does, that it's not that close like in 2000. It invites conflict. And, if we could count on everybody acting in good faith and actually just wanting to know what really happened and not trying to take partisan advantage of it, it would be one thing. But there's going to be a temptation to want to read that discretion in one partisan direction or another. The good news is most of these systems, as slow as they may end up being, generally have a member of both parties sitting in the room when these decisions are being made. Does that signature match? Democrat says, yeah, I think it does. Republican says, no, I don't think it doesn't. And then you have an appeal process. We do have that kind of check. So it's not just, one person sitting in a dark room throwing out ballots that they don't like.